Imagine a man whose fate hangs by a single thread, condemned by a powerful spirit, yet bound by honor and courage. What would you do if your very life depended on a promise? Stay with me, and let this timeless tale from 1001 Nights carry you gently into a world of mystery, magic, and hope. Welcome to a story of honor, fate, and mercy. Tonight, we journey into the heart of the desert, beneath the ancient fig tree, where a merchant faces a terrible choice. Join me as we unravel the magic and wisdom of this beautiful tale, designed to soothe your mind and ease you into peaceful sleep. In a land where the sun melted the horizon into gold, a merchant traveled alone through the silent sands. He was a man of honest trade, with gentle eyes and hands calloused by years of bargaining, lifting, and giving more than he took. His caravan was full, his business had flourished, and his heart swelled with dreams of home, of children laughing, of warm bread, and the soft voice of his wife. As the day grew weary, he found a fig tree standing in the middle of nowhere, its roots clutching the earth like a secret. Grateful for the shade, he sat beneath it, wiped the sweat from his brow, and opened his satchel. Inside, a round of bread, a piece of goat cheese, and a handful of dates, simple gifts given by a poor farmer who had nothing but kindness. He bit into a date and, as anyone might, casually tossed the pit away, far enough not to trouble the ants marching near his feet. It landed softly, with a faint thud, and then, silence twisted. A voice like thunder rolled across the sand. "Why have you killed my son, mortal?" The merchant's heart lurched. Before him stood a towering Jinni, rising from the earth in a swirl of grey smoke and fire. His eyes burned like coals beneath a storm. His voice echoed with ancient sorrow. "That pit," the Jinni growled, "has struck my son in the head. He died instantly. And now, by the law of my kind, your life must be taken in return." The merchant trembled. He was a man of fairness, of peace. Never had he harmed even a bird. "But I didn't know," he whispered. "Ignorance does not erase guilt," the Jinni replied. As the sun slipped lower behind the dunes, the shadows deepened, and the tale spun from Scheherazade's lips began to wrap itself around King Shahryar's hardened heart, softening it just a little. The merchant's throat dried with fear. Still kneeling under the fig tree, he looked up at the Jinni, whose enormous form towered over the desert like a thundercloud. The wind had stilled. Even the ants had stopped. "I beg you," the merchant pleaded, hands trembling, "give me time. Let me go home, just once, to say goodbye to my wife and children. Let me set my affairs in order, and I will return. I will not run. I give you my word as a man of honor." The Jinni crossed his massive arms, his eyes glowing with suspicion and grief. "Why should I believe you, human? I've seen kings lie and angels fall. Your kind breaks promises as easily as twigs beneath the hooves of camels." But the merchant did not flinch. "My word is my bond," he said quietly. "Let me return home for one moon cycle, just 3 days. If I fail to come back, may the curse of every Jinni fall upon my bloodline." A heavy silence passed between them, as if the very desert held its breath. At last, the Jinni nodded once. 3 days, he rumbled. "At sunset on the 3rd, return to this very spot. If you are not here, I will find you, and your children will answer in your place. Then, With a gust of wind that sent sand whipping through the air, the Jinni vanished into the earth, leaving behind only a scorched mark and a faint scent of smoke. The merchant stood slowly. His legs were weak, but his will was steady. With the sun dipping low, he turned toward home. Every step forward was a vow to return. Every mile was a silent prayer. Far away in the palace, King Shahryar leaned forward on his cushions. The tale had gripped his heart like a child's hand in the dark. And Scheherazade, with a soft smile, continued to spin the thread of fate. The merchant traveled swiftly, each heartbeat an echo of the promise he had made. The desert stretched endlessly around him, but he did not stop. Not for food, not for sleep. He rode as if time itself chased him. When he reached the gates of his city, the familiar scent of figs and firewood filled the air. Children ran through the narrow streets. Market stalls overflowed with spices, silk, and the soft chatter of daily life. Yet he moved through it all like a ghost, haunted by the shadow of the Jinni's words. His wife saw him from their courtyard and ran to him with joy, not knowing what storm clung to his back. His children, 2 boys and a girl, wrapped their arms around his legs, their laughter like bells in spring. But his face did not light up. Not fully. Not yet. That evening, he gathered his family beneath the olive tree in their garden. The sun was golden, dipping behind the rooftops, casting long shadows on the stone floor. Birds sang their last songs of the day. And there, with tears hidden in his voice, the merchant told them everything. His wife's face paled, her eyes filling with sorrow. "You did no wrong," as she said softly. "Surely no just spirit would demand your life for such a thing." "But the Jinni is bound by his grief," the merchant replied. "And I am bound by my word." His eldest son stood up. "Then we will go to him together. We will plead with him. He must have a heart. He must see what kind of man you are." The merchant smiled faintly, pride flickering in his tired eyes. "No, my son. This burden is mine alone." That night, the house was quiet. Even the stars seemed to blink slower in mourning. Yet in the distance, Scheherazade's voice whispered through the palace halls, soft as silk. And so the merchant prepared for the last journey of his life, not with fear, but with honor. King Shahryar, though wrapped in gold and power, felt the weight of that honor settle over him like a cloak. At dawn on the 3rd day, the merchant rose before the sun. His household still slept, unaware that their lives would soon be touched by the hand of fate. He dressed in simple robes, tied his sandals tightly, and packed a small satchel with nothing more than a flask of water, a bit of bread, and a lock of his daughter's hair, which she had given him the night before. He walked through the silent streets of the city, each step echoing like a drumbeat in his soul. The morning call to prayer had not yet begun. The sky was the color of pearl. Birds perched on rooftops, watching him pass like silent witnesses. When he reached the desert's edge, he turned once more to look back. The city lay behind him, glowing softly in the early light, unaware that a man of honor was leaving it for the last time. The sands greeted him with their endless hush. The fig tree was many miles away, but the path felt shorter this time, perhaps because each step brought him closer to an ending he had accepted. The heat grew with every hour, yet he did not stop to rest. Not this time. As the sun began its slow descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in blood orange and gold, the the fig tree finally appeared in the distance. Its twisted limbs reached out like arms welcoming a long-lost friend. He arrived with the last rays of sunlight warming his shoulders. He knelt beneath the tree, in the exact place he had tossed the date pit. His breath was calm. His heart did not race. And then, the ground began to rumble. The air shimmered. A gust of wind howled low and deep like a wounded beast. From a swirl of black smoke, the Jinni rose once more. "You returned," the Jinni said, surprised. Many men would have run, or hidden behind excuses. "I gave my word," the merchant said simply. The Jinni stared at him for a long time. The sun dipped below the dunes. "Then prepare yourself. The time has come." And far away, in the royal palace, the voice of Scheherazade softened to a whisper, drawing the king even deeper into her spell. The Jinni stood tall beneath the evening sky, his form towering and flickering like a torch made of storm. The desert wind coiled around his feet, and his eyes glowed like fire through fog. Yet something in his gaze had changed, not softer, but less certain. "You came back," he repeated, this time more to himself than the man before him. "I did not believe you would." The merchant remained still, kneeling beneath the fig tree. "I am not a perfect man," he said, "but I am a man of my word." The Jinni circled him slowly, his feet not touching the ground, his shadow gliding like smoke across the sand. "It has been centuries since I met a human who valued their promise more than their life." The merchant did not respond. There was nothing more to say. And then, from the distant dunes, came a voice, hoarse and trembling. "Wait!" it cried. Both the Jinni and the merchant turned their heads. A man approached, old and bent, leaning on a staff carved with strange symbols. He wore a crimson robe that trailed behind him like flame. His eyes burned with urgency. "I ask for your patience, Great Spirit," the old man said. "Allow me to tell a story. If, by the end, you still wish to kill this man, then so be it. But let me speak first." The Jinni narrowed his eyes. "Who are you to interfere with the justice of the Jinn?" "I am one who knows sorrow," the old man replied, his voice steady. "And one who knows stories. Just like you. Just like her." "Her?" The Jinni flinched, as if reminded of someone long lost. A long silence passed. Then, with a growl that stirred the sand, the Jinni raised one clawed hand. "You may speak, but choose your tale wisely. For each word you waste will weigh against this mortal's life." And so the merchant watched as the old man lowered himself beside him, drew a circle in the sand, and began to tell a tale of his own. Far away, in the hush of the palace, King Scheherazade sat frozen, unaware that his wine had gone warm and untouched. The old man's eyes sparkled with memories as he began his story, his voice weaving through the quiet desert night like a gentle breeze. "Long ago," he said, "there was a kingdom much like this one, where rulers ruled with iron fists and hearts of stone. In that land lived a young prince who had everything he could desire: riches, power, and fame. Yet, his soul was restless, and his nights were filled with shadows." The Jinni listened, his fiery gaze fixed on the storyteller. One day, the prince ventured beyond his palace walls and into the wilderness, seeking something he could not name. There, he met a humble hermit who taught him the value of kindness, truth, and honor. The old man's voice softened. But fate is cruel. The prince was betrayed by those closest to him, losing his throne and exile to the desert. The merchant glanced at the Jinni, sensing the spirit's curiosity flicker. The prince wandered the sands, alone but unbroken, until he found a strange lamp hidden beneath the roots of a fig tree, the very tree beneath which he now stand. The Jinni's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, the desert grew still, as if holding its breath. The lamp held great power, the old man continued, but only to those pure of heart. The prince's trials taught him to use the power not for himself, but to protect the weak and to bring justice where there was none. He paused, then looked directly at the Jinni. And so, Great Spirit, I ask you, can mercy be found even in the hardest of hearts? Can a life be spared when honor has been upheld? The Jinni's fiery gaze softened, the flames flickering like a dying ember in the night. For a long moment, no one spoke, only the wind whispered secrets among the dunes. The Jinni's fiery eyes flickered in the moonlight, casting long shadows over the endless sand. For a moment, his form seemed less fierce, more thoughtful, as if the old man's story had awakened something buried deep within. He stepped closer to the merchant, his voice low and steady. You kept your promise, human. You returned not out of fear, but out of honor. That is rare. The merchant bowed his head, exhaustion and relief washing over him like a cool breeze. The Jinni raised a massive hand and pointed toward the horizon, where the first stars began to twinkle. Tonight, I will spare your life. But hear this, should you ever break your word again, the price will be far greater than death. The merchant nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. I swear it. And more, the Jinni said, voice softening, I will grant you a gift, a chance to repay your courage. From the swirling smoke, the Jinni produced a small, glowing vial filled with shimmering liquid. This potion holds the power to heal wounds no medicine can touch. Use it wisely. The merchant took the vial carefully, feeling its warmth pulse in his palm. The Jinni smiled, a rare sight, like a flicker of dawn in the darkest night. Go now, and may your path be blessed. With a swirl of smoke and wind, he vanished, leaving the merchant alone beneath the stars, clutching his gift and the promise of a new beginning. With the Jinni's gift secured, the merchant rose beneath the starlit sky. The desert night was cool, the silence vast but comforting. His heart, once heavy with dread, now carried a flicker of hope, fragile but real. He began the journey back to his city, his footsteps light on the soft sand. The vial nestled safely in his satchel, a secret promise against future pain. As dawn painted the horizon with hues of pink and gold, the familiar city walls appeared like welcoming arms. The market's bustle had begun anew, merchants calling, children laughing, the scent of spices drifting through the air. His wife was waiting by the door, eyes searching the crowd. When she saw him, relief washed over her face like a gentle rain. The children ran to greet him, their laughter ringing clear and pure. The merchant held his family close, grateful beyond words. He had returned, not just alive, but changed. The weight of honor and mercy sat lightly upon his shoulders. That night, beneath the olive tree in their courtyard, he shared the tale of his encounter with the Jinni, sparing no detail, but keeping the magic alive in their hearts. Far away, Scheherazade's voice carried on through the palace, weaving the next thread of the endless tapestry. Days passed, and the merchant's life slowly returned to its peaceful rhythm. Yet, the shimmering vial given by the Jinni remained close, hidden, sacred, a reminder of a promise kept and a fate deferred. One afternoon, news arrived that a traveler had fallen ill in the marketplace. His breath was shallow, his skin pale as the desert moon. No healer's touch could ease his pain. Without hesitation, the merchant approached the ailing man and offered the glowing potion. The villagers watched in wonder as the sick traveler drank the mysterious liquid. Slowly, color returned to his cheeks. His eyes fluttered open, clear and bright once more. Whispered stories spread through the market about the merchant's miraculous gift. But the merchant said little. He simply smiled, knowing that the true magic lay not in the vial, but in the honor that saved his life, and the mercy that gave him a second chance. Peace settled over the merchant's home like a warm blanket, but the desert's silence held secrets yet to unfold. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the stars blinked awake, a shadow stirred beyond the city walls. A figure cloaked in midnight approached, a traveler with eyes like burning embers. The merchant sensed a change in the air, a whisper of the Jinni's warning still lingering in his soul. "Do not forget your promise," the voice echoed softly, carried on the wind. "The balance of honor must be kept." The merchant looked to the horizon, heart steady but alert. He knew the path ahead might bring new challenges, but with the Jinni's gift and his unbroken word, he was ready to face whatever fate held. Far away, King Shahryar leaned closer, the spell of Scheherazade's tale wrapping around him like a gentle storm. Days passed uneventfully, yet the merchant could not shake the feeling that something awaited him beyond the horizon. The Jinni's warning echoed in his mind, a reminder that honor was a fragile flame, easily extinguished by doubt or fear. One morning, as he prepared to leave for the market, a stranger appeared at his doorstep. Cloaked and hooded, the figure spoke in a voice both soft and commanding. "I have come with a challenge," the stranger said. "A test to prove the strength of your word and the depth of your courage." The merchant, though wary, did not falter. "I have kept my promise to the Jinni. I am ready." The stranger smiled beneath the hood. "Then follow me, and face what lies ahead." With a deep breath, the merchant stepped forward, knowing that true honor is not in words alone, but in the trials one is willing to face. The stranger led the merchant through winding alleys and dusty streets until they reached the city gates. Beyond them lay a barren plain, where the wind whispered secrets older than time. "The test awaits," the stranger said, eyes gleaming beneath the hood. "You must journey across this land and retrieve the silver feather from the phoenix's nest. Only then will your honor be truly proven." The merchant's heart quickened. The phoenix was a legendary bird, said to be born from fire and ash, its feathers imbued with magic beyond mortal understanding. "Why such a task?" the merchant asked. "To remind you," the stranger replied, "that courage and integrity shine brightest when forged in the flames of adversity." With resolve stealing his spirit, the merchant set out, the silver vial from the Jinni tucked safely in his satchel, a beacon of hope in the trials to come. The merchant stepped beyond the city walls into the vast burning plains where the sun scorched the earth and the heat shimmered like waves on the horizon. The land was harsh and unforgiving, yet he pressed forward with steady steps. The wind carried the scent of smoke and something sweeter, an elusive promise hidden in the air. He walked for days, following the stranger's directions and his own steady heart. At night, he rested beneath the stars, clutching the glowing vial from the Jinni, feeling its warmth soothe his weary soul. The fire of the phoenix seemed distant, yet its legend guided him like a lighthouse in the dark. Then, one dawn, the merchant spotted a glimmer, silver feathers scattered like fallen stars among scorched branches. The phoenix's nest was near. With reverence and caution, he approached the towering tree of ashen ember, ready to face whatever trials awaited him. As the merchant neared the ash-covered tree, a sudden heat surged through the air. From the swirling smoke emerged a magnificent creature, the phoenix, radiant with feathers of blazing gold and shimmering silver. Its eyes glowed like molten fire, and its song was both fierce and sorrowful, echoing across the plains like a forgotten prayer. The phoenix spread its wings wide, flames licking the edges as it regarded the merchant. To claim a feather, the majestic bird spoke, "You must prove your heart is pure, your courage unwavering, and your honor unbroken." The merchant bowed respectfully. "I come with a promise kept and a spirit ready." The phoenix's gaze pierced into his soul, searching for truth beyond words. The desert held its breath. The phoenix's flames danced closer, warm yet fierce, illuminating the merchant's determined face. The bird's voice rang clear, like a bell forged in fire. "To earn my feather, you must walk through the fire unscathed, body, mind, and soul," the phoenix declared. The merchant's breath caught, but he stepped forward with steady feet, feeling the heat grow around him. Flames curled and roared, but his heart remained calm, steady as the desert night. He remembered the Jinni's gift, the promise to return, and the faces of his family waiting back home. With each step, he whispered a prayer for strength and honor. The fire did not burn him. It embraced him, purifying his spirit in a glow of shimmering light. When he emerged on the other side, the phoenix lowered a single silver feather before him, a gift not earned by power, but by unwavering faith and courage. The merchant knelt before the phoenix, the silver feather glowing softly in his hands. The great bird's fiery eyes softened as it spoke. "This feather carries the power to heal and to protect, gifted only to those whose honor shines like the desert stars. Use it wisely, for it is a light in the darkest of nights." The merchant bowed deeply, gratitude filling his heart like a spring after the drought. He wrapped the feather carefully in cloth and tucked it into his satchel, beside the vial given by the Jinni. With the phoenix's blessing, his journey back felt lighter, as if the weight of fate had lessened. Each step was a silent promise to protect those he loved, to live with integrity, and to honor every vow. The desert winds whispered around him, carrying his story across the dunes and into the night sky. The merchant retraced his steps through the vast desert, the silver feather and glowing vial safely nestled in his satchel. The sun blazed overhead, but his spirit was unyielding. Nights were spent beneath the endless sky, where stars shimmered like diamonds scattered on velvet. The desert's quiet wrapped around him like a comforting cloak, and with every breath, he felt renewed strength. Memories of the Jinni's warning and the phoenix's challenge intertwined in his mind, reminding him that true honor required constant courage. As the city's walls came into view, hope blossomed within him, a hope not just for survival, but for a future filled with light, healing, and the promise of peace. The merchant arrived at his home just as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet. His wife and children waited anxiously at the gate, their faces lighting up with joy at his return. He embraced them all, feeling the warmth of love and safety fill the empty spaces left by fear. The trials of the desert had forged a new strength within him, one tempered by honor, courage, and mercy. That evening, beneath the olive tree, he used the phoenix's feather and the Jinni's vial to heal a neighbor's sick child, a small act of kindness that spread hope throughout the community. As the stars emerged, Scheherazade's voice whispered softly through the palace halls, weaving the final threads of this tale. Word of the merchant's miraculous healing spread swiftly, filling the hearts of his neighbors with wonder and gratitude. His home became a place of hope, where wounds, both of body and spirit, found comfort. Yet the merchant remained humble, knowing that the true gift was not in magic or miracles, but in the courage to keep one's promises and the mercy to offer kindness even when fate seemed cruel. As nights turned to days, and days back to nights, the desert winds carried his story far beyond the city walls, a story of honor, sacrifice, and the power of compassion. In the distant palace, King Shahryar listened with rapt attention, his heart softened by Scheherazade's words, his soul touched by the promise that even in darkness, light could be found. Under the vast desert sky, the merchant stood once more beneath the ancient fig tree. The sun rose slowly, casting golden light upon the sand and whispering of new beginnings. He touched the silver feather and the glowing vial, the gifts of mercy and honor that had saved his life and kindled hope in his heart. With a deep breath, he made a silent vow to live each day with courage, to keep every promise, and to carry the light of kindness wherever his path would lead. Far away, King Shahryar leaned back, his eyes shining with newfound understanding. Scheherazade's story had done its work, not just to delay a death, but to awaken a soul. And so, the first tale of 1001 Nights came to rest, for now, with a promise that every ending is but a new beginning.